So on the bottom of Ois Gimel, this is all to explain the Maila of Torah, of a mitzvahs, that Torah, in essence, has no division, like the blood that animates every limb and organ of the body, and they're radically different. The blood remains the same. Whereas mitzvahs manifest as the will of God in different ways. And all of that's to explain the Maila of Matan Torah, and yet Rosh Hashanah is deeper still. The unity, the oneness of Rosh Hashanah, Atem Mitzav Ma'ayim Kulchem, is only Rosh Hashanah and not Matan Torah. So it's all to appreciate the avoid of Rosh Hashanah and the avoid of the Seres שובה culminating in Yom Kippur. This is what this whole explanation is. And he started to explain now and appreciating the lack of division in Torah, analogous to blood. So he said, it's not the same as the Pshitus Ha'oros, without repeating this whole thing, but the Pshitus Ha'oros, that the revelation itself is not divisive, it's pure, simple, and transcendent. But according to all opinions, there were two opinions again, the Rikanti and the Ramak and the Pardes, but the net result is that as they're invested in the Kelim, they do become nitztaya, they assume a form. It's a life force that assumes a form of the Keli. So much so that the Oir of Chachma, not just the Keli of Chachma, is called Chachma, and the Oir of Chesed is called Chesed. And that's because the Keli reveals the Oir, and it manipulates, reveals the Oir in a particular way. This is not true of Torah and of the analogy of blood. So he went into all arichas into that. We want to move through this quickly because this is really what he spoke about in the previous Maimer and earlier Maimarim. Malchos, which is Giloi, God's revelation to creation. So it has four names: Oir, Keli, Koich, and Shem. I'm not going to repeat again the perspective of it, how it is from above and below. From below, they're radically different from above. Each one has the chsaron of the other. Oir is Helem and Shem is Giloi, because for Atzmos all is him, as we explained yesterday briefly, but at much greater length in the previous Maimer. That's the way it is mitzad l'mayla, but from our perspective, there's a difference. Oir reveals, as we explained, and Shem conceals, and name conceals. So we'll pick up again Ava B'Protius, 4 lines, 1, 2, 5 lines in the bottom. Ava B'Protius, Yeshchilik Ben Yina Oir, there's a difference between Oir, again, from our perspective, as it manifests to creation, to recipients. There is a difference between the Inyonim, the Keli, Koyach, and Shem. The Inyan Ha'oir is, as we explained, when we experience a river, let's talk so a little bit that we understand what we're talking about, that the Megillah students we're talking about. A little bit. So what the Inyan of Oir is that when God relates to us in such a way which we would describe as Oir, so it's a revelation that calls exclusive attention to God, not itself. Therefore, itself is the opposite of Gilui. Itself, it's not saying, look at me, as we explained yesterday. Oir points to the Moker. So when God reveals himself in such a way that his presence is felt, we call that Oir. When God manifests his presence in a way that we would describe through a Keli or Koich or Shem, built indicators. This is a revelation that's not so traceable overtly as Oir is. It's a connection in translation, a dveikus, an expression of him or attachment literally an attachment to him, but we're talking about the Almighty, blessed be he. God revealing himself in a way where his revelation is built in Ikeres. It's not obvious that it's him. So this is already a profound acknowledgement of the limitations. Listen carefully to these words, because this is the key. This is a profound acknowledgement of the limitation of otherness of creation. And the purpose of these revelations is to bring, at the end of the day, the awareness of a God, not obviously, even to creations that are completely independent and distant. Not all creations can even experience God's oir because of our own utter state of concealment.
So
and yeshes, what?
So would you say the difference between oir and all the three is oir is more selfish, and koyach and shem and keli are not, because they are not busy?
That's not what he's saying. He's actually saying the opposite here.
That's what I want to understand. So oir wants to be nichol.
Saying oir is bittul. Oir is saying not me. It's the Don Eibishter.
Oh, oir is saying.
Oir, that's what light was explained yesterday. Light.
Right. Okay.
Light, you're not going to say there are strong rays outside. You're going to say it's a sunny day. The light does not claim any reality. It doesn't project it, doesn't claim it, doesn't express it, doesn't. It's all about the Mo'ir. Whereas when God reveals himself in the way of Koyach and Shem, then we're seeing a force and a power that we have to unravel and realize comes from God. But the Maila is that Koyach and Shem brings God's awareness down to a world of yeshes, a world of independence. It's not privy to God's pure revelation. That's what he's saying here. Why God manifests himself in a way of Shem and a Koyach? Because we're in the world of complete yeshes. We're oblivious to light. So we know God as he manifests in the Oir and these terms, which are God's energy and God's investments. And we use these terms because these terms convey that it's not traceable to the source. You know, there's a guy with the name outside the door, his name is David. You know nothing about him. And when you see his koyach means something moving. If you're looking out the window and you see a rock, an object flying, you have no idea what propelled that. We use these terms to describe God's interaction with this world where we don't see him. But the fact is, we're going to get this as a musical composition. Looks like you're setting it to music. The fact is that we're seeing godliness, although we don't know we're seeing godliness. We're seeing the life that we see here in this world, which is Oir and Shem and Koyach, not Oir, but Shem and Koyach. It is a likus. And we have to decode it and unravel it, and realize it, trace it back. But it is nothing other than godliness. Oir goes over our heads. Anybody experienced Oir in Sof lately? Or anything remotely close? Well, distant? I don't think so. So our world is the world of Kalim and the world of Shem and the world of Koyach. But what does it do? Lifel hagila lamata, at the end of the day, to make God's awareness to us in this world of Yeshus and Betzias and creation, Yesh Ma'ayin, of Gashmius. Let's continue in the mind, but the mind must speak for us. Now going into these why three terms? Because there's three levels of concealment. Next page. All of them describe God in a way where we don't. Dveik is built in the keres. It's a coin, a term we're coining now. Not traceable, obviously. That's what it means. So that's overall what these three terms would be referring to. Nonetheless, They're not the same. We're describing three different interactions between God and his creation. When we're describing God operating and only via his name, we're saying he's completely concealed in this. As we just said, you know nothing about the person by me telling you his name. The name doesn't reveal it all. Again, all of this is overtly the paradox, and it's always a paradox. It's always a paradox. If we're touching the truth, is that dafka, these concealing expressions, express his essence. And dafka, the name, summons forth the etzem and the shom and the essence of godliness. This is the whole point of Chassidus. Dafka lamata is where Atmos is connected to. That's after Avodah. That's not obvious. But when we speak about a revelation where God's invested in the Keli, we're talking Atzilus and the Eilamus. There's him a Galmis Oiris. There Keli Takets Kayachagvul. The revelation there is much greater. Less work is required to appreciate, that this is divinity. The level of Keli is an intermediate between pure revelation and Shem and name, which is absolute concealment. I hope we're just getting a general idea. Yeah. These are huge subjects in Ayin Beis. Ayin Beis. Reams of pages. And the most nuanced language possible. We're just getting a general idea. Yes, it should be, because we're not speaking. I need some feedback. So Keli is an intermediary level of revelation / concealment between Oid and a name. Again, these are just languages, they're terms we're using to apply to the way that God relates to us in these different ways from our perspective. I stress that again because he said at the outset this morning, again, that B'chlolos, it's all one, which means that for God, it's all him. Equally, that's Das Elliot. We're talking now our perspective. So a name can, we just said that. Now, since Keli, which is the intermediary in between level between concealment of the shame and transparent revelation of Oir, a very deep statement said here. Since the Keli, by definition, its whole point is to reveal the light. So therefore, it actually plays on the light and affects the light. And the light becomes affected by the Keli. It assumes the form of the film of the Keli. The light assumes, the Keli refracts the light, revealing colors, shapes, and forms. Not like dam, not like blood. That's Torah, which is inyan atzmi. So this oir is not essence, which is why it can be refracted. As you said before, the light itself is called Chachma and Chesed. So God's revelation, not etzem, it ends up coming in some kind of descriptive form. His Torah conveys his essence, like the blood, that notwithstanding it's invested and animates every component of the body, it does not change whatsoever. That's the pure essential revelation of God. We're talking about God and the different ways that God relates to us. Yeah, we're all on the same page. Yeah? Yeah. So this is all with respect to Oir. Even though the Oir is Poshet, which means Oir says there's one God. But at the same time, it says God manifests in different ways. There's divine chokhmah, there's divine bina, and so on. But the pure energy and life force in the body, blood, even as the blood is invested intimately in every limb and organ, bringing life there, it never becomes compromised and remains in its simplicity and never assumes any form or ischalkos, which means division. It never becomes fragmented. So Gewalt, that's the mashal of Torah. That's the achtus that Torah brings, the revelation of the oneness of God to creation. More than his divine revelations do. His greatest oir does not convey his oneness like Torah does. That's what he's saying. And his greatest oir, friends, as we've pointed out in the past, the end of the day can be appreciated without Torah, to one degree or another. Again, the beautiful commune where he lives in loving harmony. And that does not touch God. That's his oir. It's wonderful. And it's a critical part of his purpose, but it's missing the whole essence. So therefore, Torah, which is called blood, Torah comes to us in all of its, it manifests in all of these words, and it's endless, and yet it conveys the absolute one, uncompromised, absolute, non-derivative, and therefore non-composite, absolute being of God. Which is why you need Torah. So now this is all strengthening his question. Gewalt, Torah reveals such an achdus on Noichi Havai Lekecha. And this is revealed at Sinai. That should have pearled a complete unity within us, but it didn't. Moishe is in one level, now it's another level. Where's the true unity? In our Hachtor of the Melech Rosh Hashanah. That's the question. Therefore, we would expect that when Torah was given, it should be given in such a way there wouldn't be difference of how it's received, because it's the non-possibly divisible essence of godliness. So it should affect an absolute oneness within the recipients. Not so. Moishe is in one division, Aaron is removed further, and so on. And where is the mamash, the kulchem? The kulchem is the avodah of a Yid Rosh Hashanah. Milamata l'mayla. If it's milamata l'mayla, surely everybody is in a different level. When the revelation comes from above, it unites us all. But if it comes from below, it's disparate. No. The avodah of crowning God as king and the whole avodah of Rosh Hashanah, the Shir Hamaalos, which is all to explain mema'mקים korasich havai. That piles the kulchem. How could this be? Let's continue. Oh no, we learn together. I didn't learn yet. Bear with me. Forgive me if I stumble. I could stumble if I learned before also. Certainly if I didn't. So you pick me up.
No
Hold
problem.
my hand. Hold my hand. What?
We'll do our best.
Yeah. Good. Kulchem. We're all in this together. With your permission, I dedicate today's Shir and other inyanim to my dear uncle who passed away a few hours ago in Australia. Yehuda Leib Ben Yisrael.
Wow. Baruch Emes. Sorry, Rabbi.
Yeah. His kids are in New York. They're not going to obviously make it. Come after the Shiva. Yes, he has kids in Australia, children say, but in New York. I will tell you this about him and my grandmother. He was the first Talmud in Timchet Mimim. My grandparents wanted to send him away. This is in the very early 50s to America, to Yeshiva, and Lubavitch had just come after the war and established the Yeshiva there in a farm called Shepperton, where the Fagan family lived, and brought all the immigrants to them. Before they moved to the city, to Melbourne, legendary Mishpachas Feiglin. And so my grandmother said to my grandfather, to my Zayda, no, if they're starting yeshiva here, we have to send our label here. And he didn't end up going overseas and remained in Melbourne forever and learned in yeshiva about the Pliskin, all of a sudden, the legendary chassid. It was all of 2 Talmidim or 3 Talmidim then. Then they started the day school afterwards, soon after in Melbourne. The history is yet to be told fully, although it is written out. There are books and documentaries. But he was the first Talmud, the first Australian boy to learn in yeshiva, in a yeshiva in the Southern Hemisphere was my uncle. Uncle Louis, as we called him, Uncle Abel.
Rabbi, how was he related to you?
My father's brother.
Your father's brother. Wow.
Yeah. Label knew. Yeah. He, my father, my parents, grandparents, and so on did there. This is the fabric and foundation of Yiddishkeit in Australia. Deep, deep foundation. Yeah. His wonderful kids, my cousins, Chassidim. Yeah, all right. So it'll be on COL today, if it isn't already. Okay, it's not the Ilin Ishmosi to be distracted. Let's continue learning. However, let's throw ourselves in. V'ha'tshech in the Maimer. Immerse yourself, throw yourself into the Maimer. This was all Matan Torah. There was a revelation from above, but what kind of revelation? An atmizdika one. One that is the analogy, the parallelising in the blood. But that's all God's doing. That's Matan Torah. He whisked us out of Egypt, and in this dizzying 7 weeks, we stood at Sinai and Anochi Avalikach. It was all from above. But that Rosh Hashanah is already the Avodah of us. In simple language, Matan Torah, God chooses us. In Rosh Hashanah, Kevayochel, we choose God. And therefore, the Avodah of Rosh Hashanah must begin first with Ani ledoidi, I am to my beloved. And then the Abish's response, my beloved to me. Obviously, we speak about the Avodah, our Avodah, so you should look at Dargas, There are many, many different levels. No two Eden are on the same level. K'mayim Barazal, as the Gemara says, "Ein this." When you see a multitude of Jews, you make a special bracha because he knows all their secrets, even though they're not alike. Ein the same Shabbos, not one day is the same as the other. That's not a chsaron, that's a Torah truth. Ein ze greu, so this is not a chsaron that we're all dissimilar. We're all different. It's not a chsaron. It's not a greu. It's not a lack. A what?
Deficiency.
A deficiency. Yeah. Ela on the contrary, it's a beautiful medrash here. This itself expresses God's greatness. The famous medrash Gemara. It's Gemara. Sorry, Mishnah. Masechta Sanhedrin. Each human being conveys the greatness of the Eibishter. Why? When a person makes many coins with one seal, all the coins are identical. And yet the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be he sealed every human being with the seal of the first man. He's the same template. Not one is similar to the other in the billions and billions, trillions over the millennia of human beings that have lived. Trillions. Not one is the same as the other. So that's a ma'ala that shows, on the contrary, God's awesome greatness. And how much more so is the individuality of each one expressed in as much. Rosh Hashanah is all about שובה. Regretting the negative past, and resolving with respect to the future to do it right or not to do the wrong. Now, that's the whole avodah of Rosh Hashanah. That's so individualistic. Couldn't be more individualistic than that. Fixing the past, we all have a different past, different levels. The past of one person is unlike the past of his fellow, of another. That's why Rosh Hashanah has to be intensely personal and different levels. So that just makes our questions stronger and deeper, more puzzling and more mysterious and wondrous. How then can Rosh Hashanah be this absolute oneness when it's all about our individual tshuva? It's not in Shal Torah. It's my story and it's your story, and every story is different. And yet, herein lies only here the kulchem. When there was this overwhelming revelation from above, they weren't all one. Moshe took it on one level and out on a lower level and so on. Gewaltige Shaila. Let's learn the answer. Let's begin. Also from Ayin Beis, and many of my Morim of the Rebbe are based on Ayin Beis, the deepest articulation of Chassidus till then, as it were, not that we are. Let's go. But the matter is as follows. Hine Torah hi b'chinas chachma shelamayla. Torah is the Eibishter's chachma, right? God's wisdom. Being al chachma yeduma b'makemachen. With respect to the faculty of chachma, let's look at the way it is within the soul of man. It's explained elsewhere as follows. Even though Shadnefesh be'etzem hu chachma, Again, friends, I have to look up the sources here. It's quite the statement. The nefesh at its source is chachma. What's chachma is bittul. Chachma is bittul. I mean, classically, what is chachma? Classic chachma is the discovery of a truth without getting in the way. Boom, it illuminates the mind. Now, you can only discover truth if you have no agendas. If you have agenda, you'll never discover the truth. So the nefesh is chachma, it's bittul, meaning to say, it's a keli for the truth. The truth is ein yad milvadis. It says in Tanya that chachma, invested in chachma, chachma appreciates is the truth. Ein yad milvadis vein zelosei, the truth of the absolute exclusive reality of God. So that's what he means here, that the neshama at its root is chachma. It's an entity, but what kind of entity? A completely bottled entity. Because it isn't Tanya, that's what neshama is rooted in. Chelik coming by mamish, and Tanya explains, coming from chachmasa yizbareh, which means a level that says there is only God. That's all it says. Nothing else. That's the core of the soul. Core of the soul, the amitis inyan etzma nefesh. Powerful words here. The essence of the soul and its truth is an entity that's completely one with God, complete bittul, that's chacham. Again, just as we understand chachma conventionally in terms of the intellectual process, it begins with bittul. The truth of the idea illuminates your brain then. And the person, if you ever saw someone have such a eureka chachma moment, is absolutely transfixed and doesn't even see anything that's in front of him. It's completely bottled to the illumination, like a lightning, brilliant flash of lightning, of truth. And it's not even wow. The wow comes in bina. He's not even wow or in awe of it. That's already how he is affected. It's the truth, and he's transfixed in complete silence. Boom. The light bulb goes on. For that moment, the person is not aware of anything about himself other than the truth. Few people have such eureka moments, such discoveries. That's the way it is in Pashat in Seichel, in any discovery. That's reflective because it's reflective what Chachma is bepnimius, l'maylo. It's a level that says there's just God. It doesn't even say it, it's silent. That's a manefesh. He's going to go on to say, but what's the manifested definition of a soul? It's an energizing entity that energizes the body, that animates the body. Chayis, and then there's the koiches. Okay, we're going to, beautiful. We're going to see beautiful elaboration. So that Beis Hashem, dear friends, tomorrow, we can learn tomorrow, Erev Yom Kippur. Shmuel, you can be on here, Erev Yom Kippur.
Do my best. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, because we're all going to Kaparas very early, and by 6:20, it's like halfway through the day already.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, it'll be halfway through the day for me too. So that lines up.
Yeah, it all lines up. All right. So let's put it out there, guys. You'll commit, God willing, and we'll do it.